Hello ladies and gentlemen. For today's video, we're going to be learning on how to build a diorama. Well, this one, as you can see, this one is a complete Titanic diorama leaving the harbor. Now, this is about what we're going to be building. You can get a good look of this one, good base. These are all the supplies I'm going to be using. Toilet paper, these paints, always have extra Elmer's glue. This will be what the Elmer's glue will look like. And the board that you'll be using will be any kind of board, but always like to paint it black, but you can use any kind of paint. Now, you do not have to paint the top before you put it, but this one I did put paint on it. But as you can see later on in this video, I did not paint it. And I actually did not sand the outside, but do whatever you want. To get started, you'll take your board. I have this side painted black, of course, but you can always paint it any way you want. Now, you're going to take your Elmer's glue, and you're going to unscrew the cap. Now, on this one, I will be using all of this. Depends on how much toilet paper you want to lay down or how much you want the waves to be. I always have an extra just in case. Now I'm going to take my Elmer's glue and pour it in. And any container you would want to use glue with, anyone really works, just as long as you can mix it up. Get all the Elmer's glue out, and we'll see at the sink. Now you're gonna need a brush, and I would not use a used brush because any kind of paint chips inside of it can change the color of your white glue. And if it changes the color, it might affect the way the waves will look instead of being the white. And whenever you paint over the white with your blue or whatever color you're going to use, it is going to show through and will ruin your waves. Now, if you would like to use old brushes, you just make sure to get all the old paint chips out. Now, light water, barely inside of it. That probably is a little too much. You can always check, mix it around. You want almost like a paste. Not too pasty, or maybe let a little out. It's alright if the little glue goes. Good thing you have extra. Now you're gonna mix it. Well, we're back here at the table now. Now, it's almost done. As you can see here, Eric, if you can get a little closer, you can see that it's not too thick, but it's not too wet either. Now you're wanting to layer it on. Now, once you layer it on, it will stay once you put the toilet paper. Don't have to worry about it drying. Make sure it's not too thick on the board. You don't want to use all your glue just on the one board, but you want a good amount. Just almost go in lines, either one works, as long as you get the glue on the board. Try to get the clumps out of the glue, spread them around a little bit more. You don't want more glue in some other places. Make sure to get the corners. And don't mind if any fall along the edges, you can always wipe them off. And now we'll be ready to put the toilet paper on. Now you're at the step to have your toilet paper. Now, if you're not able to access with any toilet paper, you can always use any napkin. Now, if you use napkins, I preferably don't like to use that method because it takes a lot more glue to use, but it is possible. Now, you want to make sure your toilet paper edge will line up with your other angle. You want the point end of your toilet paper to be right there. You want it to be flush along this side. That's fine if you have just barely hanging off. Then you line it all up through here. Make sure you stamp it down. And you're probably wondering, what am I gonna do with the extra here? Now, you can always tear it off now or cut it off, but I like to keep it because once you layer all the layers, 6 layers, you're going to need to cut every one off. And that's on the rest of them too. So what I like to do is wait to the end and cut them all off. Now your second layer, you're going to butt it right up to the other one. Same as the first layer, right on the edge, and goes all the way to the end. Same process. Make sure you have a little bit. If it overlays, that's completely fine. Now you're going to do it again. Now this side you got to pretty much do like the first one. Make sure you have it all lined up, and you're going to have an overlap. You could either have an overhang on this side or an overlap. Now in this one, I'm doing an overlap because I don't have all this excess, but you could do the same as this. If it's avoidable to not have hang off access, then I would use it. Now since you have your first layer, we're going to start layering the glue. For your first layer, just like this. Layer as much as you can. As you see, I'm running out of glue, but you should have enough, depends on how many layers you're doing. Now you should be using 3 layers at a minimum, because 3 layers gives you the good right amount of toilet paper to make the wave without the board still shining through. You make sure the seam's good and wet. You got to make sure you have the entire base is wet of toilet paper, because the next layer will be coming on right after this. Alright, your next step after layering 3 layers, you will start with the waves. And I am going to put your model. Now after you layered your 3rd layer, I had to have more glue. Now it depends on how long or how wide your base is going to be. You might need more glue. Now in this one, I only needed a little bit more, but I'm saving this for another project later. Now, this is the time to place your model on the base to make your imprint to move the waves around. Now right now, I'm going to make my imprint. Make sure you got all the edges down. Just like that. Place it however you want because it's your model. Now, I am going to start with, you use your same brush, and I'm going to start here. This is where you start to make your waves. Just by doing this, barely. You know, pressure it down sometimes, maybe not pressure it down. Waves are all different. You know, you make your first line. Either way you want it, you can make it. Start from here. Go all the way across, right before you hit the nose of the boat. All the way across. And you might have a few here and there. Why not? Now you're going to come to the front. Now to make the wave, sometimes I like to pull my model off. Make sure you got an imprint down. Good enough to see where you're going. But for this one, the model is not imprinting as well as I would like, but I'm going to save it on there. Just make sure you don't move your model too much, because the waves that you're about to make from it will probably move and it will not look as good. So now start it off. So the nose of the boat always going to have some waves that pivots off the front. Now these will go probably here, and then start to fade off. Maybe go all the way to here before they fade off. Now this one is not setting as good as all of them. Just depends on what kind of model you use. Now see, like that, you'll be able to make with paint later. You'll be able to show that off some more. And usually in the middle, they have some more waves that kilter off the side. Or whatever your model looks like, if you can have a real life picture of it, you can look it up to see what the wave point looks without them. Now you're going to put your waves on the side, because whenever the boat's going through the water, you're going to have a lot of waves kiltering off of it. Now, on the end here, you're going to have a lot of prop wash. Now, prop wash is what it sounds. Wash from the prop. It's going to kilter up that water. A lot of the bubbles are made from it. And see, like this one, you can make a eye illusion from it. You don't want to go right underneath it, but you want to make sure, because where the prop is located underneath the water will bring it up. So right here you can see the prop. This boat is not always going to be facing down in the water. It's on its out of the water some more. But you can see that the prop is barely out of the water. So to do this, you're going to have waves coming off from here. And you can do that, but this boat is turning, so, or you can even make it just finish turning. It's going straight, as you can see from the rudder. So you can make it come from an angle here, and you just made the waves look here, so it's just now getting on a steady track. And you do this here, and that's about how far a prop wash will go, or you can even do it off the base. Now, since this one keeps moving, it might be a little trickier. It depends on what your model is, but don't worry. You can always check. Now, I'm going to come back here, start doing a little bit more waves, just because I feel, it might need some more waves here. And you might even, up at the front, make some more waves, just because that's the boat pushing the waves forward. Now, we'll go through the time lapse of me finishing this. Now we're finished with the waves. Now you can have your model stay there, or you can take it off. Now, I preferably like to take the model off during the painting process. But now we'll move on to the painting. Now I do have some drying methods for the base. Now, before you even dry it, I would take the model off of the top, because if you don't, no matter what drying method you do, that bottom will still be wet, and the glue, the toilet paper, will stick to the bottom of it and will rip and will destroy your waves from experience. Now I will give some drying tips. The first tip is to leave it outside on a hot summer day. Now, if even you do this on high noon heat, probably 85, maybe 90 degree heat, I'd say 30 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, 20 to 30 minutes probably, for it to completely dry and you'll be ready to paint. Now, second tip is you can do a blow dryer. Now, if you're going to blow dry it, then it's going to take quite a long process to do it, but it'll be quicker than any other one, besides letting it dry in the summer heat. But you can easily go over the top, slow and steady, maybe go over it another pass, and then you go down again, do the same thing. I do this probably the entire thing, just like that, 4 times, and you'll be almost dry. Now, the third tip is the longest one. You can leave it overnight to dry, but it'll probably be a day and a half before you dry. Now, if you do the whole day part, and you just have the half part left, if you use the blow dryer, you can probably finish it right there, and then you'll be ready to paint. Now we are back. The model here is just a small scale model of the other destroyer. Now, why I'm not using the actual one that we just showed the process of building is because right now it's probably 80 degrees tops and mostly cloudy. Now that's going to take a while, so I had this one ready and is ready to paint. So it's basically the same wave technique that I did on this one. Now, I do want to mention this, that you can see here that I didn't wait soon enough for it to dry. So whenever I try to cut it, it peeled off. Now, I'm okay with this, and it did the same over here, but always remember, probably wait till it's dry enough where you can do this, and it's completely dry. I would wait till the end to finally cut it off, before you paint it though, because whenever you do that, you might have to paint in a few. So, now to start off with our paint here, I like to use these paints. Now, always have your white for the white caps on the top of the waves. Now, not a lot of people do this, haven't seen a lot, but I like to add a little white on top and a little behind it, and it gives it a good wave representation. Now, in this one, I like my waves a little, more choppy water. So I'm going to use more white on the tops of these waves, especially on the prop wash. If you've ever seen one, it's a mix between blue and white because all those bubbles coming up. Now, on the black here, probably wonder why I have black for the ocean. Now, if you've ever seen a picture of the ocean, or a lake, or even rivers, you look from the top and you look down, you're going to see a color maybe of this blue. And you're going to see that, then you're going to see something black, a blackish blue. It's going to be a really dark color. Now that could be sometimes maybe even a shipwreck, or even a coral reef. But I am going to use this for that representation, and I'm going to mix it in maybe over here, maybe some dark spots on the board that are over here that shine through. I can easily do that, put a little black here, not a full block, but I could do easy black here and shade the blue in. Now these are all my colors, they're all different brands of paint. It doesn't matter what brand, but these are the paints I had laying around, household paints. Maybe some from my paint set, but this is it. Now we are ready to paint. Here's my paints. All of them, I like to have it all in one deal where if I want to mix the paint. Now you want to take your model off because you don't want to get paint on it. So I'm going to set it over to the side. Now you got this little imprint here of where the waves are going to be at, and you can really see it. Not like the other one, that one's going to be harder to paint, but it's still possible. You can even put an outer line around it of paint where you know where it's at. Or you might just know. Now, get your paintbrush, and I always like to start in the corners and just start painting. Now, even if you just maybe, I don't know, start there, here, or there, or even in the middle. Either one works. Whatever works for you, you can do. Now, see, I already did two colors. I did a lighter color here and a darker blue here. Just adds contrast to it. It really makes it look like an ocean. I mean, the first time you're doing this, you might be thinking, it's not looking the best. You know, the waves ain't turning out the way you want it to, or the way the water looks. Now, I am going to say this, that the paint, whenever it dries, it looks a lot better. And it depends on what kind of light you have on it too. If it's a bad light, then, you know, the waves might not give off the good look. But I mean, if it's a good light, yeah, you might get a good look. And either way, it just looks like water, and it looks good. Now, the best thing about paint, if you make a mistake, let it dry and paint over it again. That's the good thing about paint. It's not like a Sharpie. You made a mistake on it, you're just there. Now, I'm going to paint in here. I'm keeping the same blue color. Right here, I did a little darker blue, just, you know, instead of using black all the time, you could use that too. But right here, you can always just do a little blue. Now this could just be good enough here, just using that instead of using black. But I like to use black because it gives it a little more contrast. It gives it a better look. That does too, but I like to have a lot of things in my water. See, right now I'm going to do a little, what would you call this, teal? Put a little teal over here. And always remember to mix, shade the colors in. Because water, I mean, sometimes, yes, you see the water where it's just two definite colors like this. But I like to maybe shade it in a little bit. You know, make sure you get rid of that line there. Have the teal overlap with the other blue, or have the blue overlap onto the teal. Either one you like. Now you're gonna have teal over here. Always make sure that line is good. Sometimes you don't see the line until you get it dry. And like I said, good thing with paint, you can always paint over that line. Now right here on the teal, I don't like to use a lot of teal. Only in a few of my places I like to use teal. But probably right here is going to be all the teal. I might use it over here. But I'm going to shade in a little blue here to give me a line. I always like to do a little line here to say, hey, I'm going to put blue through here. And I can finish shading all this in where I know not to put teal over. Now right here, I'm going to start my first black. Now, you barely dip your black. On the edge is about all you want, and even then, you want to pat it in here. And now sometimes, you know, do it in here, but it's always best to do it out on the white. You know, do something like that, and that actually might not be enough black for you to see, but let's see. Now sometimes you can have a little black over and just wipe it off from your paintbrush. If you don't use all that black on it, sometimes it doesn't, and black gets on your blue, but it's fine. Now you always want to mix in a little bit around it, because then again, you don't want a definite line, because that line is never there in the water. It's always mixed in. It's always going to shade in. That's how water is. Now if you do this, right now it doesn't look the best. But it looks like there's something underneath the water. Maybe shipwreck. Maybe even some coral. I don't know. Whatever you think it could be. But now I'm going to add a little darker blue. Maybe there. You can already start seeing a little of the waves going together. You know, even behind the waves a little bit, you might want to have a little darker blue and then maybe the teal in front, because there's more water there and it's crashing over the top. And you can always, you know, we're going to put white at the end. But that's also another tip I want to add, is that you do not, from experience, do not paint the waves on without making sure this is dry, completely dry, because I've done this many times before, and I've painted the waves on top, and the blue mixes with the white, and that's whenever you have a problem. Like I said, you can always paint over it with the waves, but the waves are sometimes a little hard to get the way you want them to look, and it's just a little aggravating sometimes. But, like I said, don't get too upset about it. It's paint over it again. As you can see, we're almost finished. It's really the end of the wave part. It's just adding on the top here. As you can see, I've already done a little bit, you know, the first little wave, you know, maybe go off to the side here. Make sure that adds on a little bit more, and always, you know, go back a little bit because there's always the little backwash from the other waves. Just like that prop wash. It's there again. You know, right here I'm doing it where it's not as dry, but, you know, you do what you gotta do. I'll take a hair dryer and I'll go back over it, but right now I'm just gonna add a little white on here just to demonstrate what I've done with the waves and what you can do for your diorama, or if you have any other way that you find out, you can always use that too. Yeah, I'll add on a little bit more white in the back here, add a little bit there, and I'll finish off the rest. And with the prop wash, you're going to want to do a lot of this right here to make it look like that, and maybe on the top of the white caps, you'll make it look good if you just make it as wide as possible, and especially with this prop wash, to make it look like if you're wanting the boat to turn, make it look like that, like it has just came from that with the prop wash. Well, we're at the end here. I'm not yet finished with it, but I'm showing a little bit more of how I painted it. But this is the end of the video. I hope you had fun watching it. Hope you learned something. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I think my cameraman, Eric, and don't forget to share. Thanks, Eric. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you learned something on how to build it. And yeah, I think that's gonna wrap up the video. Thank you.